Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics on Channels Television. I'm Millicent Walker. On the news this hour, President Muhammadu Buhari has warned criminals that their days are numbered, reassuring Nigerians that under no circumstance would criminals and mass murderers be allowed to hold the country to ransom. And the APC has hit back at the party's former national chairman, Mr. John Oyegu, saying that in his time, he condoned indiscipline in the party. And controversy rage over the sack of local government officials by a state assembly in Imo State as they say they will fight what they describe as an unjust action by the lawmakers. Welcome everyone to the program and happy Eid celebration to all our Muslim viewers in Nigeria and around the world. As Muslim faithful in Nigeria today join their counterparts worldwide to celebrate Eid al-Fitr, marking the end of the Ramadan fast. Nigeria's #1 citizen, Muhammadu Buhari, the president, joined in the early morning prayers in Abuja, the nation's capital, to mark the end of Ramadan. Meanwhile, the president is reassuring Nigerians that under no circumstance would criminals and mass murderers be allowed to hold the country to ransom. He says emphatically that their days are numbered because his administration will pursue them relentlessly and bring them to justice. The president's words of assurance is contained in his Eid al-Fitr message to Nigerians and the Muslim community. Apart from the assurance of better security, the president is also thanking Nigerians for partaking in the conduct of peaceful elections in February and March, despite what he called, quote, doomsday predictions of social disharmony, end of quote. He also commended INEC for a good job despite the initial difficulties. The statement says, quote, let me use this opportunity once again to reassure all Nigerians that your sacrifices in voting for me won't be in vain. I will ensure the ordinary voters feel the positive impact of government, end of quote. President Buhari also asked Muslims in Nigeria to always put humanity before personal interests as they celebrate the end of the fasting month. The president received a report of the presidential panel on the reform of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, as well yesterday. Now, part of the recommendations of that committee was the establishment of state and local government police. Upon receipt of over 2,000-page report, the president directed the National Human Rights Commission, the Inspector General of Police, and the Ministry of Justice to work out modalities for its full implementation. Our correspondent Gloria Muzuke has the report.
President Muhammadu Buhari just back from his first official assignment in Saudi Arabia since his inauguration on May 29. He is receiving members of the presidential panel on the reform of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS. The panel, constituted in 2018 following allegations of human rights violations perpetrated by officers of SARS, has come to submit its report after 10 months.
The panel recommended 37 police officers for dismissal from the force. 24 were recommended for prosecution. The panel also directed the Inspector General of Police to unravel the identity of 22 officers involved in the violation of human rights of innocent citizens, remaining the Special Anti-Robbery Squad to Anti-Robbery Section, ARS, which was its original name, and to make the section operate under the intelligence arm of the police.
Other recommendations of the panel include establishment of state and local government police, significant improvement in the funding, kitting and facilities of the Nigeria Police Force, strengthening of the Police Information Technology and Police Rapid Response Complaint Unit, as well as ensure that the anti-robbery section limits itself to tackling armed robbery, among others. The presidential panel received 113 complaints across Nigeria, investigated them before arriving at these recommendations.
The police was also directed to pay compensation on various terms to 45 complainants and tender apologies in 5 complaints and directed to obey court orders in 5 of the matters. The police was also directed to immediately arrest and prosecute 2 retired senior police officers found to have violated the rights of citizens, one for extrajudicial killing and the other for illegal takeover of property of a suspect.
President Muhammadu Buhari then expressly gives a directive.
And hereby direct that since the recommendations of the commission that constituted the panel are enforceable as decisions of the court, that the Inspector General of Police and the Solicitor General of the Federation, Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Justice, meet with the Commission to work out the modalities for the implementation of the report within 3 months from today.
The president is confident that the recommendations will go a long way in redressing widespread grievances and ensure accountability on the part of police officers. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Well, let's now see some of the highlights of the National Human Rights Commission panel recommendations, a few of which are that 37 police officers were recommended for dismissal, 24 for prosecution, and the idea is to unravel the identity of 22 officers involved in rights violations, among several other recommendations. Let's get more insights into the details of the recommendations as submitted to the president by the Anthony Ojukwu-led committee. And we have the man himself in the studio. He joins us this afternoon, Mr. Anthony Ojukwu, Chairman, National Human Rights Commission. We'd like to thank you for joining us at this time. And straight away ask, before going into the nitty-gritty of the committee report submitted, how urgent is it to reorganize the police system in Nigeria? We'd like you to tell us how bad things were based on your committee's findings.
Well, our thinking is that the security situation is very, very serious as a result of several years of gaps in the security infrastructure. This has led to production of hardened criminals that has also necessitated the formation of SARS at first instance. So we believe that if we have a security architecture that makes sure that criminality does not fester, there are so many ungoverned spaces in the country where these criminals go and stay and get trained on how to handle sophisticated weapons and then get strong enough to even challenge the police and the military. So we think that the country needs effective policing from the local government level, the state level, and that if that happens, the supply chain for hardened criminals that special units like anti-kidnapping, anti-robbery, that leads to their formation will no longer be necessary in the long run. So it is not a day's business. We think we should start from somewhere, and we believe that we put up a 10-year plan for the police restructuring, and we think that if we follow it judiciously, also equipping them, putting police expenses on the first line charge, and also improving their communications. For instance, things like necessities of CCTV cameras for manning security architecture in the country.
Mr. Ojukwu,
if all citizens of this country, for instance, put CCTV camera in their buildings, and then what the country would now be doing would be networking all these CCTV cameras, both on the highways and on public residences. You find out that we'll be able to, within the period of 10 years, be able to structure very well a local government police, a state police, and the federal police.
So let's go back to some of the comments of the president. He said, quote, since the recommendations of the commission that constituted the panel are enforceable as decisions of the court, and then made further pronouncements of the IGP and Solicitor General and the others to work out modalities to implement the report. Now, a lot of people are questioning that decentralization of the police force cannot occur without a constitutional amendment.
Yeah, of course, you know, these are the smooth edges that have to be looked at. And part of why the president said, go and look at this, he's saying that go and find out what are the necessary things that will be done to make these recommendations effective. And if it requires constitutional amendment, that will be suggested. If it requires a competent legal team to be put in place to look at the nature of the legislation, the nature of the amendment that needs to be made, that will be recommended. If people have some doubts about misuse of power at the state or local government level, then a legal framework can be put in place to deal with all that. We cannot afford to get it wrong now. This has worked in so many societies. So the idea is go and look at how these things should be practicable. And then allay the fears of everybody, those who believe in it and those who don't believe in it. And then we'll recommend and go back to government. And then the president can now decide on what to do.
Also, one of the fears for a lot of people when the argument of state policing and local government policing came up was really the worry about the measures in place to prevent its abuse by, you know, political opponents, oppressing political opponents. But I guess these are some of the things that will also be looked into in the implementation. But do you think that 3 months is enough time for those members to implement some of these recommendations?
Yeah, it's to bring out a blueprint for implementation. It could also require other things. But within these 3 months, the committee should be able to advise government on the necessary things to be done. If there are other necessary, for instance, if there's going to be constitutional amendment, it cannot be done in 3 months, but it can give the roadmap towards how that can be achieved. If there is need to, for a group of think tanks to sit down and draft the necessary amendments or legislation that has to be put in place, that will take more time. And these are all the things government needs to look at holistically to be able to make sure that they do the right thing.
Are you absolutely convinced that an overhaul of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad is also a solution to some of the issues that have been raised on their performance lately? Some people have asked what is in a name. Merely changing the name might not give it the impact a lot of people want to see.
Yeah, of course, that's one of the recommendations. A lot of things need to be put in place, proper equipment, proper training, proper funding, and all that. And then reporting schedules. You recall, of course, even the IG had done some reforms recently, where the SARS officers are now reporting to the state commands and so on and so on. Unlike before, when they could just come in from Abuja, go into any state, operate, and leave, without even referring to the State Commissioner of Police. These are all part of the new reforms, which all of them have to work hand in hand. And I must also say that this does not remove the importance of community policing. The distinction between having state police and local government police is that the security situation needs more than a voluntary scheme like the community policing. You need a structured system that will have rules and regulations and that will be governed by law, not the community policing thing, which depends on voluntary members of the community volunteering information and partnering with the police to make sure at whether there is whether there is local government police, whether there is state police, whether there is federal police, they all need community policing to perform well.
We'd like to thank you.
I think that the security situation in the country is dire enough to have enough security to deal with the situation.
We appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Anthony Ojukwu, on the program. Well, still to come on Lunchtime Politics. Now, the Rivers State Governor says that the government is not indebted to any bank. We'll find details when we return.